So today, or this topic is a kind of a serious topic in a way. I know in my personal experience, we've never really had to deal with people being too strongly prejudiced about anybody. Most of our kids are pretty good and come from, loving, inclusive homes. But there are still potentials for things to happen, so that's why it's important for us to be trained on what's going on. So I want to just kind of read you guys the purpose. So the purpose of this activity is to give all staff members the tools and techniques for celebrating the unique differences and the diversity of our community, our Kesem community. So we do this to equip you guys with the training to handle things like microaggressions or instances of prejudice at camp. So let's just jump right into it. So take a minute and answer this question. I'm just going to call on people. So why is it important to our campers and our camper families that we as a staff are trained in diversity and differences? Speedy.
I say this every year, but I think it's super cool that these parents, guardians, whoever, leave their kids with us, college kids, for an entire week. And so, the more that they know that we are aware of their children's needs and wants and life and background and stuff, the more comfortable they're going to be and the easier camp will be.
One of the big things since we raise the money so that they can come for free is that we do pull from a lot of different backgrounds and a lot of different financial situations, all that kind of stuff. Something as simple as for the older kids that we have our overnight camp out, they might just not have a sleeping bag, and that's something that a lot of people kind of just take for granted, but that's not guaranteed for all these families. We just have to be sensitive to that.
Anybody else? All right. Cool.
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry, Waffle. Yeah.
Well, it's okay. It was last minute I just thought of this. I feel like another thing as well is for parents to know that when people think diversity, frequently diversity just means race. But diversity actually means so many different things, and a lot of these kids are going through so many transitional points in life. For them to know that we are very trained in these different areas and that we know how to handle some of these difficult conversations, that can really help those kids kind of grow. So I feel that would make a parent feel better.
Yeah, absolutely. And I feel like parents would feel better about sending their kids to a place where everyone is trained to be, in a sense, to make everybody comfortable. So the idea with diversity training is to not, is to basically be, I guess to be comfortable with differences and kind of be ready to, immerse yourself into that, into those differences, into that culture or whatever. So. I'm going to kind of, before we jump more into it, I just want to acknowledge that this is a really expansive subject, and I don't think 2 hours is is long enough to fully cover everything that kind of falls into the spirit of diversity, but I think it's important to use this workshop as kind of a lens, as a framework for us to kind of know how to approach things that are going to happen, or may potentially happen here when we go to camp. So, thank you guys for telling me about why it's important. So next thing I want to do is I want to set up something called group norms. And so when we're going to have discussions today about different backgrounds, cultures, and stuff like that. And we need to make sure that everyone is respecting each other and following the rules. So we may say things we disagree in here, our core may disagree with, but it's important that we respect each other. So guys, help me out, make up some rules for our discussion.
Be respectful.
Be respectful. But what does be respectful encompass?
Someone else's.
Taking turns speaking.
Never comments.
All right. What else? Oh, well.
After any statement is said, take at least 3 seconds without reacting to it, and then you go speak.
We're gonna call that let it sit. Let it sit. Let it simmer. Okay. What else?
Be open.
Okay. Yes.
Different opinions are okay.
Yes.
Yes to
discuss, don't argue.
Cool. So you guys, they have a few that they would like us to do. So you guys actually hit them all on the head. So one diva, one mic is just basically like take turns speaking. This one says don't yuck my yum, which means like if someone else likes something, you don't tell them you dislike it, I guess. That's good. That's all kind of falls under respect. Listen from the heart. That's be open. Along with the opinions thing, that's great. Challenge the idea, not the person. I guess that goes along with discuss and don't argue. So we're not wanting to attack anybody personally here. We're all friends here. We're all family here. We may have disagreements based on our experiences, but that doesn't mean that we're trying to individually attack each other. And then also, this one says make space and take space. So if you feel like maybe you're talking a lot, or maybe that you don't feel like you are representing your perspective enough, it is important that we kind of give each other that respect to speak when needed. So you have all the ground rules down? That's awesome. All right. So, isms. Okay, so this is why kind of we're talking about at least one of the big deals for this program right here. So an ism is any act or expression that creates exclusion or is exclusionary. So what kind of isms do we know about in our lives? What kind of isms do we see? Mac.
Sexism.
Sexism. Shout them out, please. Racism.
Or age.
Ageism. Yep.
Classes.
Classism. Yep.
Feminism. Lego.
What?
I don't know if it's the right word, but ableism.
Or ableist.
I learned in college.
Anything else?
Religionism?
Yeah, is religionism.
Religionism?
I don't know how to make that an actual word.
Yeah, I guess religious. Let's put religiousicism or something. We'll know what it means. Religiousism. Cool. Anything else? Huh? Semitism.
Favoritism.
Good one.
Okay, I will also throw, and this is kind of obvious, but I also throw like homophobia and transphobia. I'll throw that in there as well. I don't necessarily know the situations of all of our children because we only see them for a week, but that is important that we are being conscious of that. What's wrong? Yeah, you got it. Yeah, so basically people who are, we're trying to eliminate isms in our organization. We're trying to, these prejudices happen both in like obvious and non-obvious ways. Sometimes they're things that we just kind of mention in passing that we don't even think about it. Sometimes they are just things you hear in conversation back and forth between campers. But a lot of times these isms can kind of, while somebody may not be racist as a person, they still can have racist like tendencies and things like that. So we're going to kind of keep our isms in mind as we're going through today's lesson here. So let's keep on going. All right. So take a piece of paper, please. Hand. And I need you to write down a response to this question. So where do these expressions and behaviors come from in our children? Where do our children learn this stuff? Take a minute to write that down.
Where do they learn it?
Yeah. Where do these expressions and behaviors come from?
It might be on my jacket over there. Just not in my backpack, and that's all I have. Or it's in Big Mac's car, that's probably where it is.
I want to go through your stuff.
That's fine.
Everybody just stare really hard at me when you're done. Just super hard. You guys are staring very good. You guys are excellent direction followers. Routine, you did a great job. Okay. Throw me some responses. Waffle.
Your environment.
Environment. Okay.
Media,
Media.
family, friends,
Family and friends.
your peers,
Yep.
TV.
Is that still media?
Yeah, I guess it's
School.
School.
sports and outside activities.
One word.
General observation.
Observation. Or lack thereof observation. So lack of exposure would be another good way. A lot of times, it's just people are not exposed to people of other cultures and backgrounds, so they have a hard time relating. Anything else? Party.
Online gaming. Yes, I was thinking just like Xbox Live.
So like the internet.
Internet.
Yeah.
Yeah, there we go. I don't know. Chats and stuff. Yeah, right. Yeah, live.
Right. Okay, so referring to this list, how do you think these kinds of behaviors and expressions make people feel, and how do they make you feel? Take a minute and write that down, and we'll share again afterwards. Just look up at me when you're ready. Cool. Let's garner some responses.
But uncomfy, and what's uncomfortable? People often think that they can, by ignoring our differences, I just don't think by ignoring them, they can actually celebrate what is so unique and special about those differences that we aren't all the same. So sometimes it makes people feel uncomfortable.
We have numbers still. I will draw numbers. I'm scared.
Excluded, outcasted.
Outcasted, excluded,
Degrading.
degrading,
Upset.
upset,
Alone.
alone. Okay. Now, have you seen any examples of this? That's a broad. Yes, everyone's seen examples of discrimination. Okay. So, how do you think in a camp situation? I'm just going to gauge right now. How do you think we handle something like a microaggression at camp? I will explain it later, of course, but I just kind of want to see what you guys think. Yes.
It depends on the kid you're talking to and kind of what their thought process was whenever they did something to someone, But I think we don't have the power to instill certain values into a kid in a 10-minute conversation after they did something. And the reason they said something might be because of they heard it at home, and that entire list we made, they could have heard that, microaggression, and that's why they did it. But I think what we have to do as counselors is set the rules and expectations for our camp and let them know that we're welcoming here. We look through the DEI lens and things like that. So just like setting the general rules and expectations for our camp specifically, so those things aren't there at camp.
I'd like to expand on one of his earlier points. It's
it's a big difference if a pink flamingo does something that could be seen as a microaggression versus if a yellow line does. It's two very different things.
Mhm.
So I feel like with like the younger kids or even even the middle-aged ones, like just kind of approaching more from like okay, well that's not okay, like we don't do that here, versus the older kids moving at it more of a point of like, where's the root of this? Because they have the cognitive processing to know that that's not something that should be said, yet they still said it.
So you'd have to handle those situations differently.
Yeah.
One may be an education, and one may be more of like an education conversation, and one more be maybe like more of a conversation.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
I was just gonna throw out also for those who haven't been to camp, all those names, yellow lines, the purple hippos are oldest boys, oldest girls. The middle age are the orange monkeys and the blue elephants. And the youngest girls, youngest boys are pink flamingos, green crocs. So that way when you get that kind of stuff, like what you just said, one of the youngest girls versus one of the oldest boys, like it's a big difference.
Sounds good, guys. Awesome. So if we do not want these behaviors present in our camp, what do we want? So we want to create an environment of affirmation and celebration of diversity and our differences. So we should not only be thinking about how to address and prevent prejudicial behavior, I'm done, guys, sorry, but also brainstorming how to create an affirming environment and affirming behaviors. So what do we do as counselors? How do we change our behaviors to kind of match that culture? And so that means we have to be a transition. Okay. What is our role in this? So we are role models. So to be a role model, can I have everyone just tell me some good example, like what is a good example of a good role model? Like what are some good examples of good role models?
People are qualities of role models.
Let's say qualities. Let's say qualities.
Honesty.
Honesty. Respect.
Transparency.
Transparency.
Leads by example.
That's by example.
Be positive.
Positive.
Trustworthy.
Integrity. Trustworthy. Yep.
Understanding.
Understanding.
Forgiving.
Forgiving. Yes, that's a very good one, especially for this. So it has here that a role model is someone that makes statements and choices that are consistent with good ideas, positive values, and principled beliefs. It is someone that we choose to or are compelled to listen to due to an intrinsic desire for connection. So all of those examples of what a good role model is, especially like being respectful and kind of being so to say like in the field with your team and just kind of not putting yourself too high above other people. That's kind of a good way to do that. Also, as role models, like Giggle says, we have to be forgiving, but also with forgiving, we need to be understanding. So, as we've kind of highlighted earlier in our talk here, that a lot of these things come from students' like home lives or school lives, and kids don't understand and like the nuances and the implications of like things like microaggressions. So. It's important that we are setting a good example by being conscious of our language and what we are choosing to say, but also at the same time, like being understanding and willing to kind of talk with a student because they do have a cultural difference than you do in their background. So I said student, I meant camper, sorry. But yeah. So also, always be self-aware of bias-related behaviors and stereotypes. So once you've identified a mistake or a stereotype belief, acknowledge that you have done so, that you have identified that, but what you also need to think about what you're going to do for next time. So I'm going to pose you guys a question. What are some concrete ways that we can set up the camp environment to celebrate diversity and differences? Take a moment to think about it, and then when you guys have answers, start shouting them out. But what are some concrete ways that we can set up the camp environment to celebrate diversity and differences?
When addressing a large group of people, don't start by saying like, hey guys, I just say, hey, I would rather hate friends, hate campers, hate campers.
Campers?
I would say y'all, you'll find when I go to camp, I literally turn like really picky. Like I don't know what it is, but y'all is a good one. Y'all.
What happened?
It really comes down.
Make it kind of comfortable in the beginning for them to open up about their background and stuff. Like, give them that opportunity to want to express who they are, just from the very beginning.
What else? Okay. So the other ways they have here is discuss the idea of respect. So do, say, believe. So sometimes campers can be more in tune with what being disrespectful looks like, or what they should not be doing instead of what they should be doing. Excluding others, dissing others, and talking behind someone's back, etc. So make sure when you are discussing any negative or bad behavior, you talk about it. You talk about its match or its pair. So like the good or positive behavior on the other side. So if you see someone make a mistake, instead of harping on them and getting on them, ideally what you should do is try to talk to them and help them understand what they did wrong, and show them the opposite option of what they said. And that's just kind of how respect works. Ban hate-based words or language. This one's kind of a no-brainer. But saying any like racist terms, derogatory terms, it's an expression of hate, and it's not allowed at camp at all. There's no room for hate at camp. With older campers, sometimes it's helpful to talk about other words that they know or that they've heard that might fall into this category. It's really important that you are transparent and honest about things that are wrong, and you are telling them that it is wrong. And always ask why these hurtful or hate-based words, or always ask why these are hurtful and hate-based, and make sure that they understand the importance of using words and how their words can affect. So not only do they understand like saying a racial slur is wrong, but they also understand kind of the implication and the other things behind that. So yeah, they also have on here other examples of language that should be banned at camp, including things like that's gay, calling somebody sissy, coded racial language, use of like body parts to call somebody like, like a pussy or whatever, like calling people like that. That's not like, definitely not okay at camp. And we need to be openly committed to creating a very safe space for our campers. This is a camp of empowerment. This is a camp of love. And so kind of in that aspect, it should also be a safe space for students, or for students to campers to talk about their issues or what they may be dealing with. We're definitely not their counselors, but we definitely are kind of a safe haven for them. They really look forward to talking to us. So it's important that we have that in mind, and we're kind of having that on our heart while they're talking to us. And then also put everything into the context of camp. So what it means to be individuals and what the values of our community are. I don't know if the kids are necessarily going to be super interested in our like community values as KESM member, like as KESM as an organization, but we can live out those values through the way we live out camp. And so it's important that like we are kind of reflecting how inclusive and empowering we are trying to be in our organization. So, all right, here's the fun part. First of all, I like to do this thing called the 7th slide stretch. So since like presentations can take forever, and I've sat through a lot of long ones, I want to give you guys like a minute to just stand up and like walk around for a second. Just cut up in the middle of the session. So just take like a minute or whatever to stretch or check your phone real quick.
Wait.
Was this
Hold on. Mute presentation room? Or mute, whatever. There she
Okay,
is.
I'm-
He's gonna go on a copy today.
This might be.
Oh, those are the worst.
I think I did, but
What?
you know
You got
what?
it
There's
on
like
Harvey and I each had one.
It says I did.
40 is
40, 40, 20.
Oh, it's not
Wait,
really-
what?
Another
20.
40s.
I don't think I'm gonna share. I don't think we're too.
Yeah, 40%.
Did you share any? Did you just share something?
Okay.
Fair point.
Yes, it's better. You either shit yourself
20 was really honest. There might be shit there, there might not be. It's really false. I guess you can share that.
Yeah, that was great.
Squid ready for that mystery exam? Because I've been mystery major this entire time. So I didn't have to take it, but now that I'm not history anymore,
Now you have.
I have to take it for the core curriculum.
Oh.
Yeah.
I don't want to get ready for the game.
What?
I still don't want to get ready for the game, so I'm gonna pop you right out of it just to see you. She's not back yet.
Alright, cool.
You know about me?
So we're making excuses.
Big.
Yeah, that's
Woo! I guess.
I
Next
can't.
time you
I
should,
mean, like, I
do your mix so it's
Yeah,
like that.
once I take 150
You
off,
should
that's
like play music and
Yeah.
we'll do
Oh.
Good idea. Good idea.
really stupid.
Alright,
We'll do yoga.
let's get back into it. So I actually need you guys to break up into small groups of 4 to 6 people for this. So arrange.
here.
Alright, cool. So now that we're in groups, we're gonna deal with situations relating to isms and ism-related behavior. Keep in mind this can be an intense, emotional, and extremely difficult to deal with, especially one-on-one in the moment. So just kind of be ready. So I need all of you guys to take 2 minutes to discuss and brainstorm the following things. I'll write them up here. So how to keep campers' behavior in perspective. Like how? Okay. Things to remember when dealing with a behavior, and objectives for the behavior change you would like to see. So, how do you keep?
She said that sounds
Whatever you did for like 18 grade. Once I just went there, I was like, I read
Like,
They're really
doing, like, regular exam or project,
Yeah,
yeah, make an app, make sure that 20%, and I knew that if I got all the points in communication,
If you can't read it, I'm sorry. I'll explain it to you.
online,
How to keep.
There you go.
Keep. Exceed. Exceed.
It's hard to like keep your eye on those especially
They never taught me how to write on the board. So I'm just going for it.
Odell Beckham Jr. behavior change.
you're not even saying anything,
Oh, I was just
observing.
and then you have to like do that consideration before you just like go
Starting off like it's kind of laying
and then address it.
you know, we had some times where
Most
like,
likely.
we got
someone like me to come
a little rough.
ABAs might not be
And I was like, I got to get cross that. I forgot like cross that line.
Dude, that was earlier in the day, wasn't it? Like,
It's like,
yeah, I remember saying right at like lunch or something.
I know. I'm really sorry. You need anything?
oh, yeah.
Yeah, we just gotta.
Because when people in my application.
Shut it down, shut it down.
It's really just like decreases in parents.
God protects us.
I don't know, like hit someone on the face, but you can have
Yeah, that's
it
usually what happens.
instead of punishing it still before it gets to the next
Oh.
adding super once you get it.
That's
it's-
no matter what their age, a 2-minute conversation could be
Just like,
discussing.
They like
Or
to
stuff about
feel
like
like there's
goals, like if you're
very slow feeling very fast. As much as like I want you to feel like
Oh, I don't
know.
We're not here.
You can do TikTok.
That's
That's
what
what
I'm
We're
saying.
here to help.
And even you can write it.
Did you make these slides?
I'm very impressed with my
changes the last thing that went on there. Kind of get that to stop. What kind of things they said, what caused them to say that, and they said. Yeah.
Oh, really?
All right, guys, let's bring it back. All right, cool. All right, let's bring it back. All right, so first question: how do we keep things in the camp? How do you keep campers' behavior in perspective? So, how do we do that in situations like this?
You have them kind of like retell what happened from their perspective to make sure, because sometimes when kids don't intentionally make a comment like that, you want to see what they thought they did, and then you can address it and like see, yeah, again. But make sure you know what they think.
You gotta put yourself in their shoes too, and realize that like they're different, what age they are, and all that kind of stuff. Like what maybe their experiences back home, or like with their friends at school and stuff. Like that's probably pretty different than where you're at right now.
Okay, things to remember when we are dealing with this behavior.
Kind of be patient and like not sympathize, but understand that they're kids too. Say stupid things.
Campers are children. It's literally what it says in here, but it says campers are children. If you feel the need or are compelled to argue, yell, or debate with the child, you're probably not in the right place to deal with this issue. So, go ahead.
Sorry. Be confident in what you're saying to them. Can't be super loosey-goosey or they are we gonna follow you. That's what they're saying.
Keep in mind that you're not like their parent, so even if they have different beliefs at home, it's like something that doesn't happen in camp.
Sorry.
Go.
Oh, okay. Kind of just what she said, like last year we really talked about, we are only with them for 1 week, so like we are not going to change their behaviors in 1 week, so they have a whole year to spend with their family, so like we can show them good practices, but if they are like continuing to have these things happen, like don't beat yourself up over it if you're not like making an impact, because we are only with them for 1 week, and it takes a long time for children to change their behaviors. So like, don't get like upset if you're like, it's kind of a hard situation to handle, and you feel like you're not making any progress. Like it is only a week we're with them, so just keep that in mind too.
And then, so what are some objectives for behavior change? What are things we can do to kind of help change these behaviors?
Promote positivity.
Patience, because this isn't change that's gonna happen after 1 10-minute conversation. It might take 3 or 4.
Lead by example.
because I don't remember what age it is specifically, but they don't process contractions. So when you say like don't run on the pool deck, they don't hear don't, and all they hear is run. So instead of talking about the bad behavior that they're doing, talk about what you would like them to do instead. So walk please, or use like whatever.
It's good. Outline positive behaviors.
Good thing.
That's how it's working. Okay, anything else? Okay. So the other things on here kind of relate more to the emotions. So just like other challenging behavior issues, expressing your emotions will not help the situation. No matter how strongly you feel about the situation, typically flaring up at a child is not the best move. Also, use a calm voice and breathe before you speak. I know that's really simple, but if you come at a child with a tone of hostility or you're angry at them or something, they are going to feel that and internalize it, and it's not going to be a constructive conversation. Always ensure the immediate and long-term physical safety of campers as well. We just want people to feel like they are both like physically and I guess mentally safe to be at camp, trying to continue to make it a safe space for people. And then also, like I said, ensure the emotional safety of all the campers as well. So you guys did a great job. These are great examples of some good responses. So I have so many questions for you guys. So how do you do this? How do you implement these things into our everyday camp life? What kind of situations could you see these different qualities enact into our camp life? It can literally be a hypothetical example.
I'm just gonna say by being positive. Patient.
Yeah,
And somebody
not wrong. It's not a wrong answer.
Yeah, that's not right.
It's not right. It's an answer.
Yeah.
You said words.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how do we implement these kinds of behavior changes and these things? Like, what are some instances in camp that you could see this happening in, or see where you have to be one of these things?
I think there's a lot of overlap in all of them. So if there's say, I'll come up with something random. Say somebody chucked the basketball and hit somebody in the face. You could look at that entire list and be like, campers are children. So he or she did not know the repercussions of whipping that basketball to someone's face. It's just having the understanding before you go into it, like you said, taking a breath, assessing the situation, be like, okay, somebody got hit in the face with basketball. Let's figure out why that happened. Let's figure out how we can prevent it going forward while maintaining positivity, leading by example, being patient.
Just thinking of an instance where I've had to correct kids before, it's just kind of making sure their attention is with you, not everywhere else. They're all kinds of stuff. Make sure you have that. So I would think it would most happen more in smaller group than a huge group. But sometimes it does. Sometimes you're in a group and someone says something and you're like, oh no. So then you have to decide. But that's just I don't know.
What are some things we can do to ensure the emotional safety of children? Kind of related to this.
There are going to be some campers at camp that are a little bit quote unquote more grown up than others. So they may be wanting to handle discussion topics that some of the less grown up ones aren't quite there to handle. They may want to talk about things that maybe the littler ones aren't. So just kind of making sure that those conversations are kind of happening in a space where everyone is on the same page. Because you don't want to force someone to try to go somewhere where they're not comfortable.
I think we have to be really careful, messing around, because anything they see us do, they kind of take as an okay. So I know, for example, last year, the middle girls like to mess with Waffle and Will all the time, and they would say they would roast them really hard.
I'm in counseling because of it now.
But you have to make sure that what you're saying because even if, like it's all good and fun with those two, if they try and do it with another camper or another counselor who doesn't take it in the same way, we have to be like really careful how we even talk and interact with each other because they take that really easily.
Awesome. Good work. All right. So I have a few more, just other examples to get to throw on there. So the first one is to take care of the victim first. You want to address the victim of some sort if they're being left out or discriminated against. So you're going to want to address the victim first. So you address the victim first, always. Focus on what that hurt camper needs. So for example, a hurt camper is allowed to feel hurt or angry if they have been discriminated, made fun of, whatever. They should be allowed they feel like they should be allowed to safely express these feelings to a counselor, and we should be able to understand and empathize with these children instead of trying to ignore them or change them or tell them that their situation doesn't like that bad. The hurt camper should not be forced to engage in conversation with another camper to educate them. However, if another camper wants to be a part of a conversation of education, please let them join. I think kids listen much more to their peers in just general social situations. So it may be helpful to have, if you have someone who is comfortable, I don't know how that would work in little groups, but just not necessarily being the person to, basically just don't force them to engage in conversation with people, especially people that hurt them. And it is important that the hurt camper can be respectful towards other campers when they rejoin the group, but they do not have a responsibility to forgive other campers. So remember that their feelings of being hurt are valid and real. We need to take them seriously. And ideally, they can forgive the other camper and move on forward, but there has to be healing that takes place. So it is your job as a counselor to deal with situations like this. Sometimes you may have to be a mediator, sometimes you maybe have to be an educator. It just kind of depends on the situation, and the context will show itself when it pops up. But it's important, you have a plan in your head about at least what kind of angle you can take, or how you are going to try to approach educating somebody if needed. Explain, your job is to take care of everybody, so that means we just inherently do not let hateful comments happen. And then also it's important that we are encouraging campers to speak up to us if these situations do happen to them. You might have campers try to repress it or internalize it or not bring it up just to move on, but it's important that we are at least creating the opportunity to have a safe space for them to talk. So, yeah. Cool. Sorry, I messed up. Okay, all right. So the most important thing to do in regard to any ISM related situation is immediacy and the follow-up. So deal with every situation immediately, the first time it happens, and consistently. Speak to the importance of the issues and its effects. Kind of like how Max said, we're not going to change a child's perspective in a 10-minute conversation, but you can try to help them kind of understand in simpler terms how maybe their feelings may hurt other people's feelings, or their words may hurt other people's feelings. Build credibility for yourself, and set expectations for your counselor behavior or your camper behavior. Similar to what Bubbles was saying about the blue elephants picking on a waffle. It's okay to have those relationships with campers. It's okay to have those fun relationships, but there needs to be a across the board standard of what you are and are not allowing to be said and done around you. Can't play favorites. You don't want favoritism in play at camp, especially. So we need to do that. Another reason that we do this is I think that it helps us, in a way, help the kids become more critical thinkers. I've heard a lot of people say in this kind of situation they would ask why they were thinking this or why they did this, and to get them thinking about why they did something tells them a little bit more about maybe it makes them think about their consequences of their actions or the implications of their actions from before. So just kind of making sure that we are, in a way, kind of guiding them to think a little bit more critically about the things that they say. But it's important that we immediately address situations like this We don't want someone to feel discriminated against and we definitely do not want that to go unaddressed. So just kind of be present, be cognizant of what's going on, and just handle it with immediacy. So whenever these kinds of I'm sorry, it's a lot of talking, guys. So whenever these kinds of situations happen, it's important to report it to the camp advisor, who will then file a situation report, and then provide extra support for guidance. So you're not going to be expected to take care of everything. It is wise to report racial, microaggressions and racial, things and other prejudices. It's important to kind of report that to your camp advisor. That way they know what is going on, what they can deal with. It may not always seem obvious that you need to loop in the camp advisor, but it is really important to make sure that you do. That way, situations that have happened at camp in the past should always be reported. So here's a couple of situations of inappropriate situations or examples. So a camper chose a camp name that was appropriate, but then the name then led into racist jokes, so we had to end up changing their name. There's also other instances of another instance could be a camper is telling a female counselor they can't join their game because she was a girl. That's another one of those examples where you might not want to report it, but it is kind of necessary that you report that. If you can't, of course, fix it on your own through conversation. A camper, this is another one. A camper is sharing their pronouns with their cabin. If they go by he, she, they, or them, or whatever they go by. And the cabin continues to use their pronouns incorrectly. And then there's a camper imitating a counselor and using racist ideas during their imitation. So we need to be paying really close attention to involved campers. We need to be paying close attention to what they're doing, how they're interacting with each other. We're definitely not like the word police. We're not trying to stop every little bad thing that they say, but there are things that are wrong and hateful, and we have to kind of be conscious of that. So, and as staff members, they also want me to note, you are also, if you do feel like you are not being respected in any aspect of your identity, you go to the camp advisor and then you go to the program director. You can also talk to the mental health professional as well. Remy is amazing and helps a lot with that. But if you happen just throughout the year not to feel comfortable with it, go to your camp advisor, or I guess program director in our case would be Kitty. So talk about that. So I have a handout for you guys. It's so fun. I made 18 of them, so some of you might have to share, but they're 4 pages long, so I don't want to kill the environment. So just go ahead and pass that out. That case right there.
Dude, I know, and I don't have pockets. It's awesome.
All right. Okay. So check out your packet, your handout I just gave you. In there, you're going to see a couple of under the section, I believe on the 3rd page, that says dealing with specific situations. Underneath that, you're going to see a list of different topics that we're going to talk about. So I need you guys to divide up. Thank you. I need you guys to divide up into small groups of 4 to 6 for this next thing. So.
Yeah.
Who's better in your group? Makes a difference.
Love you guys. Bye, Sparky. All right. Got our groups? Cool. All right. Okay.
You're right, you're hitting that wall.
All right, we're in our groups. Right on. All right. So I'm going to start this with a couple of definitions here. So we have the definition of microaggression up here. Microaggression is the everyday, verbal and nonverbal, environmental slights, snubs, insults, and etc., at which it targets another individual's identity. And prejudice is an unjustified attitude of aversion towards those who are different from you. So interruptions are a skill used. Something that I want to talk about is interruptions. It's a skill used to address microaggressions. The goal of an interruption is to encourage respectful communication, destruct isms and stereotypes, and to educate and learn something together. So there are actually guidelines of how to interrupt a microaggression or instance of prejudice, and I will go ahead and try to explain some of that through my slides here. But here's what you do to address a microaggression. So you start with inquiry. You ask them like why they did what they did. Ask your speaker or your person kind of doing the thing to elaborate off their ideas. So this will give you more information about what he or she or they are coming from, and it kind of helps you become a little bit more aware of what they're saying as well. So some things you could say, can you say more about that? Can you elaborate on your point? Or like, can you explain to me what you thought? Or like, why did you do this? So just kind of asking them and trying to get into their head not only allows them to kind of open up to you, but also you get to kind of learn a little bit more about where they were coming from with what they said. The next one, another way to go around microaggressions is a paraphrase or a reflect. So reflecting in one's own words the essence of what the speaker has said. So basically paraphrasing that and demonstrating that you understand the other person's point kind of reduces the defensiveness between both you and the speaker. So restate briefly in your own words rather than simply parroting the speaker. Reflect both content and feelings whenever possible. So to deal with a microaggression, to kind of rephrase what they had said into a different way in your own head, kind of I guess is another way to help kind of interrupt and stop those microaggressions from happening. So examples you could say, so it sounds like you think blank, or you're saying blank, or you believe blank. It's kind of acknowledging that the other person that you're listening and acknowledging what the other person has said and rephrasing it. You can reframe as well, so which is kind of creating a different way to look at a situation. So you could say like, what would happen if, could there be another way to look at this, or let's reframe this, or what might it feel like if this happened to you? So this is kind of taking the situation and flipping the roles a little bit, trying to make them think about what would happen, how they would feel if these actions were done to them. Use impact and I statements. A clear, non-threatening way to directly address these issues is to focus on oneself rather than on the person. It communicates the impact of a situation while avoiding blaming or accusing the other and reduces kind of the defensiveness. So, for example, instead of saying, you are racist, you are sexist, you are this, instead of making those direct statements, you could say something to the effect of like, I felt like this when you did this, and it made me feel like this. So, or you kind of describe the impact. So kind of putting it into the frame of like using like the I statements, taking away that direct, accusation, just kind of reduces the defensiveness of a situation. It can be a little bit more productive. And then finally, using preference statements. So clearly communicating one's preferences rather than stating them as demands, or having others guess what is needed. So just saying things like, what I would like for you to do is, or it would be very helpful to me if you did this. So these are just ways that we can kind of, these are open-ended questions, the ways we can, to kind of address like microaggressions in our like everyday, camp environment. So now that we have all of that, I'm going to have you guys break into your groups, and I want each of you to, I'm going to assign you each a scenario under that handout I gave you. So talking about the dealing with specific situations. So where are our groups at? Right here, there, back, and then right here. Okay, so you guys are going to deal with racism. Read that, please. You guys back here are going to deal with sexism and homophobia. Oh, wait, hold on. Sorry, guys. I may be wrong here. That's my bad. Okay, fine, we'll make it up. Racism, we're gonna go homophobia, we're gonna go ableism, and we're gonna go sexism. No, we can't do that. I'm sorry, guys. I'm so sorry. I'm all over the place. All right. Okay. Here's the right stuff. Wildly prepared, guys. Trust me. So in small groups, discuss how you respond to one of these situations. So I'll go around and give you guys groups. So you guys, you guys are Amber saying something.
Unnecessary. And you should be ashamed.
A group of campers is using a camper with special needs. And excluding. Someone we have a male No, you need to talk about it and ask and tell me how you are going to fix that situation.
Tell me one reason why they change or why you explain better than they do. Feel like they're pretty discrimination or anything like that.
Not good music though.
Quickly explain
They'd be like, play no bonfires.
I think we should go both ways.
No,
I think it's a routine.
We don't have
Like low key.
Like start from the beginning.
It was like a song I think they know. What it like how bad it is and like you shouldn't say that. So then I would like I think that was like a direction to like hey we have to camp, we don't use that like yeah.
It's trying to take our time, man. It's supposed to be a 2-hour session.
Yeah, you get it.
2 hours. It's been like an hour and 5 minutes. Huh? Thank you. Other than just not being prepared and doing other than just being wildly unprepared for my lessons. Really? I just feel bad because I was messing up, switching things. It is. Yeah, this is weird. This is weird. It's a weird lesson.
Thank you.
I noticed that earlier, yeah.
What do I get?
It's like I just like put them really up. Make him a little loose.
I'm getting in my campus
I'm
weirded out.
so
Weirded out.
But I realized I was going back to the other day and I was like, why did I say counselors doing so many city? And I wrote it out.
Well, it was like the
Yeah.
on task, growl, and activated wood, everything. I was like, what do I do? And I called my mom. One day I got moved back. Was it really? Oh my god. Like, my cat does not do anything else except.
All right, right on. Got quiet. Okay. So, can I have one person from every group tell me how they're going to deal with their situation? Start over here with you guys.
So ours was like if a camper says something like that's gay, we would just like pull them aside, ask them why they said that, why they felt like they needed to use that word, and use replacement, kind of explain why that's important to do that and stuff. Whoa.
Looking good.
Um,
Take a seat.
Yeah. So we just like would explain why you should use replacement and why that could be hurtful to somebody. And then we also talked about like making sure that as counselors, like we kind of like, because you kind of like set the child aside to talk to them about that, but then also like bringing them back in so that way they're not like upset about it the rest of the day, and kind of like and make sure that you're not upset about it the rest of the day, because I know sometimes it's hard when like, especially we talked about campers that maybe are doing behaviors to make the counselors mad because they know it kind of eggs them on, just making sure that you're able to move on and pay attention to all the campers and stuff.
Back row.
Alright, so ours was a group of male campers excludes a female camper from a sport because they say that, well, you can't play because like right. That go either way, whatever it is. First thing we said was one, we've never really noticed this camp, but this is a pretty easy fix. Just go up and you just ask them to explain why. So why are you better than they are? And just watch as they try to explain it, because the more they try to ration out, they'll realize it doesn't make sense, and then they'll back away from it.
Or we just send Rotini and let her kind of get
I do absolutely demolish the 9 square.
She's an assassin. It's insane.
Peno. How about jalapenos group? What do you got?
Sure. So we had, our scenario was a group was excluding someone with special needs. So what we did, we just talked about how basically the campers can just find a way to modify the game or whatever the activity there is that they're doing. In our scenario, like you didn't really say whether they were like discriminating or not. They were just excluding. So basically tell the campers to modify the game so that everyone can be included, and if there was any kind of discriminatory act, kind of just explain to them, this person may be different, but they're not different. We're all here to have fun, do camp, so we're going to make that possible.
All camp family here. In front row. In front.
Okay, I can do this. So our group had the scenario of someone else calling, I guess, another paper, the N-word. So I think it depends, especially on the context of it. I think if it's an older group and they're singing it in a song or something, they know the context of it, and that would be a shorter correction. Just like, I think they would know. You would assume it'd be like, hey, we don't use that at camp, kind of deal. Your younger kids probably aren't going to be the ones to say that, but it is just a matter of like pulling them aside, asking them where they heard that, correcting them, like tell them that it's not okay to say that. Like there's really no other word you could use in correction, like as a different other groups. There's really not another word you could use besides person, because like we're all people. So I think it's especially important in correcting them, and that's not okay in general, even at camp. Really, but with all of that in mind.
Absolutely. All right. So we do have a short video to watch to kind of help wrap it up, but I'm just going to run through. So these are these are guidelines for basically how to interrupt a microaggression or an instance of prejudice. So this is how you can deal with these situations. So 1, separate the person from the action or behavior. And instead of saying you're racist, try saying something that could be perceived as a racist remark. Being called a racist puts someone in a defensive state and can be considered fighting words. And we're not trying to, if we're trying to educate someone, we're not trying to accuse them of anything, because then they will wall up and they won't listen. So avoid starting questions with why. It puts people on the defensive. So instead try saying how or what made you. When addressing a microaggression, try to avoid using the pronoun you too often. It can leave people feeling defensive and blamed. Use I statements, like we talked about earlier, describing the impact on you instead of referring to the action indirectly. So, example, when blank was said, I felt blank. Also, how you say it is critical. How you say it is as critical as what you say. So your tone of voice, your body language, etc. The message has to be conveyed with respect for the other person, even if one of them is having a strong negative reaction to what's been said. So it's helpful to think about what your intention when interrupting a microaggression is. Do you want that person to understand the impact of their action or stop their behavior? Okay. So we're going to do a small little thing one more time, and then we're going to watch a video. So for this, I'm going to call on basically random people. And so I need whoever I call on to describe what you did this past weekend while using no gender-specific identifying words. So for example, instead of using the term girlfriend or boyfriend, you would say partner. Instead of using mother or father, you would say relative. So I'm going to call on someone randomly, and they're going to try their best to tell me what they did with their weekend, minus using any like gender identifying words. So I want to call on Mango.
My partner came into town and we went and hung out with friends until my partner left.
Nice and awkward. Tank.
I had some fun. My writing proficiency exam. And
What kind of fun?
and suffered through the writing proficiency exam. Then my partner and I went to our alumni banquet, where I then again had more fun and went back, and my partner and I hung out at a friend's house where we continued having more fun. Went out with the said friends of a certain age to a bar and continued to have fun. And then I woke up, and now I'm here with all my friends.
I'll take one more, and I'm gonna probably take Smiley. I want you to tell me. Yeah.
I babysat kids Friday and Saturday. And then Sunday, I went to a bar with my friends. That wasn't good. That's all I did.
You guys are fun. You guys are really fun. Okay, so let's just go ahead. So what would you like, was that an easy thing to do? People who participated, was that easy to set, like talk through?
Mine was totally fluid, man. I didn't have to think about it.
Yeah?
I was like a mix of all people, so mine was,
Yeah.
because it wasn't girls or guys, it was both.
Mhm.
So that wasn't a very good one.
Yeah. Okay. Well, how did you feel like knowing you had to not say a certain like?
Yeah, you have to be very specific.
Cautious.
In choice of words.
Yeah. Well, you guys also you just said I had fun a bunch. Like
Yeah.
that's and so like I think
Yeah.
you simplify your language for fear of saying something you're not supposed to.
Yes.
So how did you guys feel while it was happening? Like were you just like
I just felt
anxious
like I had to
or
think a lot.
yeah?
Didn't have to just like talk.
Mhm. about you, Smiley? How'd you feel?
Well, like I said, I knew it was girls and boys each time, so
Sure.
I didn't have like if it was like boys.
Right.
Harder.
Okay. But how do you feel like it impacted your ability to like honestly communicate with me?
I mean, it did, but it didn't. Like, I feel like I lost some context, but like, I still got my point across.
What about you, Smiley?
You just have to be more cautious.
Absolutely.
So it was like slow. Not like how you normally talk.
Okay, cool. Well, I have a video that's kind of supposed to wrap everything up as well, and this is a custom made video, so it's super fun, and you get to watch somebody talk. So.
There she is.
Hi, my name
Are
is
we
Laura
watching the whole
Arvizos, as in better
That's
music camp
what it
custom.
says.
This is the learning all the way right
Let me figure out. Hold on. Let me look.
Hold
this up.
on. That's a whole separate.
Yeah, that's a whole video.
Can we take a break and talk about?
4 minutes.
So as you all know,
Watch all of
We
it.
could just take a break.
58.
For 5 minutes.
5 minutes?
No shit.
No. Okay. So the video is really long, and we have less time than needed to do all of it. So,
Let's take a 5-minute break and then we'll watch
take a
it.
5-minute break.
reconvene.
Let's take a 5-minute break.
5-minute break and then we'll watch it.
Yep.
Go. Okay.
Take a break.
So bad. I checked my water. I made a mistake.
Okay, so this hour long. This is gonna be the last thing we do. We're just gonna watch the video.
Like I don't want to sit here and watch it and else like so we can either
Follow
do
me.
it or choose.
Follow up. I got you.
Or
Chuck should. I don't really care.
okay, but I'm in a spot where like there's only so much your brain can take up one thing. Like it's literally a psychological thing.
Even if we start up training.
Well, is it gonna be more interactive?
Rotini. Come here, please.
I'm just tired of watching which ones.
What's your
And
next
I just had issues with
What's your next one?
Oh, I'm so sick of these videos.
And I was like,
Yeah, I know. I've seen.
This is basically the training.
Exactly, and that's the thing. It's like
It just goes through like terminologies and stuff.
I mean,
Everyone knows gender pronouns. Everyone knows this.
So what they're trying to do is my side was that I don't want to stuff people who have already been talking about this for a year and don't want to get into their
What if we send it to them and send them a quiz?
That's what I was thinking. So I was gonna ask like for our makeup trainings, but wasn't there a question on the quiz? I only watched the second training interview, not the first one. So I don't remember like what do you do for makeup? Are we allowed to send videos and take a quiz?
Yeah, that's what we're supposed to do.
So
We're the only souls.
but that's what we did.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I really don't either. To be honest. I'd be fine doing another training. That would
Yeah, so and then that way we cover everything we wanted to cover because that's the last. Or did you have another training?
I haven't done one.
Yeah.
But this was a chunk, and now we want to take like 30, 40.
I didn't realize that we had tried to schedule 6 trainings, but one was 2 hours. That's what I had.
Yeah, I don't think we realized that either.
We start when they get back here in 5 minutes. It's literally like look how short this is. It's just this.
Well, and what about- It's so easy.
It's really just like 2
Can we just, let's just watch this at the next training.
We're not doing this right now.
I was,
We're
that's what I'm
and
saying.
yeah, and then we can like we can revisit this
I
next
forgot.
time when we're not 5 hours in the training and have more
half of
about
this.
it. Like,
But like,
because I'm
I don't think we just like put it on the
It's like you see
we
my
do need to
work
watch
that
it.
day.
That's okay.
So it's like, yeah, no, I wasn't.
it was dead. No, it was awful. Or
We can just watch it.
we can watch half of it and then we have to do the dishes and the other half of that?
I haven't really wanted to
We'll just watch that far out. Like we have to suck up investigation.
Or what is the one?
Yeah, I'm at the office.
Am I doing mine?
Yes.
Alright.
You're gonna be here.
It's interesting.
I mean, it's more like.
What is it?
No, but I would
Because, well, if we can, we can either do one of Tyler's and
I don't.
It's been a lot.
Alright.
so we'll just have to account for one.
Alright, so that video is 55 minutes long. And I know for a fact that I do not want to sit here and watch a 55-minute video. So, what we're going to do is we're going to just watch it at another training. We do have to watch it. It is a requirement. But for the sake of time and for the sake of we've been talking about the same thing for an hour and a half, we're going to go ahead and move on to another presentation. But, yeah.
Everyone energized. Let's
Woo.
like stand up, like
Camp
stretch.
song? Camp song?
Let's do a camp song.
Camp song.
Yeah.
Camp song.
Camp
There
song.
we go.
I get loose.
We do 10 burpees.
I get
Yes.
No, this is activity.
Peanut butter Monday.
Button factory. We never did that last year.
For good reason.
I love that sport.
Peanut butter Monday, but not a lot of people know that.
Teach it.
I like it.
Oh yeah, that's good.
Okay, hold on.
I kind of.
Here, I'll put, okay, for people who, we're gonna do, I'm gonna put the,
Oh, we can stick it for sale.
camp song. I don't like it very much. Okay, I'm just gonna pull all the lyrics.
That's the entire song. That's the whole
Literally.
thing. That, I just did it.
Okay, but instead of saying he's up to, we say like, oh no, we say like he got my, oh gee, he's got my knee, oh fiddle, he's got my middle, or thigh.
This one's like different.
Yeah, I don't, hold on, I'm just gonna go to that. There's a Kesem
Let's just
one.
go for it.
Wing it.
Yeah.
Oh no, he's got my toes. Okay. This is
It's that's next part. So whenever someone says, "Oh no, he's got my toe," there should be one person, and everybody else repeats.
Then
it,
it's
and
Yeah. So this is a repeat after me song.
This is a repeat after me song.
And a do as I diddly do song.
And a do as I diddly do song.
I
Beneath my rope and sticker. I beneath my rope and sticker. I beneath my rope and sticker. I don't like it very much.
Oh no, he's got my toes.
Oh no, he's got my toes.
I beneath my rope and sticker. I beneath my rope and sticker. I beneath my rope and sticker. I don't like it very much. Oh no, he's got my toes.
Oh no, he's got my toes.
Oh geez, he's got my knees.
Oh jeez, he's got my knees.
I beneath my rope and sticker. I beneath my rope and sticker. I beneath my rope and sticker. I don't like it very much. Oh no, he's got my toes.
Oh no, he's got my toes.
Oh geez, he's got my knees.
Oh jeez, he's got my knees.
Oh my, he's got my thighs.
Oh my, he's got my thighs.
I beneath my rope and sticker. I beneath my rope and sticker. I beneath my rope and sticker. I don't like it very much. Oh no, he's got my toes.
Oh no, he's got my toes.
Oh geez, he's got my knees.
Oh jeez, he's got my knees.
Oh my, he's got my thigh.
Oh my, he's got my thighs.
Oh fiddle, he's got my middle.
Oh fiddle, he's got my middle.
I beneath my rope and sticker. I beneath my rope and sticker. I beneath my rope and sticker. I don't like it very much. Oh no, he's got my toes.
Oh no, he's got my toes.
Oh geez, he's got my knees.
Oh jeez, he's got my knees.
Oh my, he's got my thigh.
Oh my, he's got my thighs.
Oh fiddle, he's got my hips.
Oh fiddle, he's got my hips.
I did forget that one. We'll go back to the hips. Oh flip, he's got my hips.
Oh flip, he's got my hips.
Oh fiddle, he's got my middle.
Oh fiddle, he's got my middle.
Oh heck, he's got my neck.
Oh heck, he's got my neck.
I beneath my rope and sticker. I beneath my rope and sticker. I beneath my rope and sticker. I don't like it very much. Oh no, he's got my toes.
Oh no, he's got my toes.
Oh geez, he's got my knees.
Oh jeez, he's got my knees.
Oh my,
he's got my thighs.
Oh my, he's got my thighs.
Oh, flip, he's got my hips.
Oh, flip, he's got my hips.
Oh, fiddle, he's got my middle.
Oh, fiddle, he's got my middle.
Oh,
hey.
Foley's got my shoulder.
That's it.
Oh,
Is that
He's got my shoulder. Yep.
Why do I not remember any of this?
Foley's got my shoulder.
Oh, Goldie's, I didn't remember that one.
Oh, Foley's got my shoulder.
Oh, Foley's got my shoulder.
Oh, heck, he's got my neck.
Oh, heck, he's got my neck.
Oh, dread, he's got my head.
Oh, dread, he's got my head.
I believe my broken finger. I believe my broken finger. I believe my broken finger. I don't like it very much.
Oh, this computer is about to die.